Mystic driven noise, yeah, the mess we make. Machine Pun Kelly, get caught in the fake. Facts and logic with a twist of chest. Strip it down to truth, yeah, forget the rest. Humor pulls the lies right out of the park. Look beyond the shadows that set the dark. Sparks of laughter fire up the night, bringing clarity when they blur the fight. Cut through the chaos, yeah, the tangled lies. Steve Pun Kelly with a set of clear eyes. Truths and jokes gonna rock this show. Step into light where the real facts glow.
And welcome to the Pun Show. Just trying to finish up one thing real quick here. I forgot to do something and now I need to do it. So there, we're doing it. Okay. All right. So now we're live on Twitch. So how's everybody doing today? You can see I've got a little bit of a different look. Or can you? I guess you can't, because you don't see the different part yet. But anyway, I've been looking at how I can improve the whole presentation of what I do with these dashboard things. And I've got a new idea. I hope it'll work, and we'll try it out today. I made a PowerPoint instead, but a nice PowerPoint. And we'll just see. I want to convey actual information. I don't want to just have debates with people. I want to be able to have conversations. Conversations, starting point of a good conversation has to be like substance. So how do we get substance involved in this conversation? And so that's what I wanted to do. I don't know if he's here right now, but there's a regular listener named Lord Demon or something. I can't think of his name. I never quite got it. It's an unusual name. Anyway, he's saying what rights have been trampled or whatever. And so I've been going through and I've been working on this PowerPoint. I'm actually only up to the 6th Amendment, but it's got quite a bit of substance, and we'll cover half of it today and half of it tomorrow. We'll cover the first 6 amendments today, and then the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 14th Amendment, and then the other stuff. Oh, and I got it. I'm sorry, Kitty. I forgot to do that. So hang on one second. I need to take care of my assistant host here, or whatever. The hostess with the mostest. That's what she is. All right. All right. So that's it. You got it now, Patsy. So, anyway, hopefully we can have a good conversation. So, we have some fans here. Trump is God. Whoa, what is this? Musty clown switch hitting, rusty trombone tooting off all this clown bleep. Obviously a dusty jester who's been marinating in their own nonsense way too long. Well, that's quite a versatile vocabulary from a Trump supporter. You guys usually aren't, much past the R word. This is a trash liberal channel. Okay. Everybody has their opinion. Communism is your brainwash, surrogate, implant, liar, fraud. Okay. All right. So we don't have anything of value to talk on the comments. Should we keep the crack pipe smoking to after 5 p.m.? There didn't take Kitty long to get to work there. She is a designated banner. You look like you're confused about your gender. Really? Is it the beard? I don't know why everything has to become just about trans. Anyway, So I've made this. This is my new way of developing it. So, Kitty, can you do you think it looks better this way or this way or this way? Whoops. This way? That one? This one? Okay. So, let's get rid of this comment if I can. Where's? Okay, so there we go. How the Donald Trump administration is trampling our Constitution. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to just go through this slideshow, and this way I can see the comments, I can see you and your reactions, and I can do everything from one screen. So we got somebody saying no. Oh, are there any winner Democrats? Well, there are elected Democrats. So I would assume that means there are winner Democrats, right? It's such a weird thing that the Republicans act like no Democrat has ever won an election. It's like you guys haven't even won the majority of the vote. You've won the majority of the vote one time since 1988. You didn't even win the majority of the vote with Donald Trump, but you don't know the difference between a plurality and a majority because plurality has too many letters for you. So let's talk about, well, you know what? This is going to get kind of small to see. Let me, here. How does that one look? How does that one work? Okay. So we've got the First Amendment. These are just the ones. Actually, it's expanded since this. These are just some of the amendments he's violated. The First Amendment, the Second Amendment, which is the right to bear arms, right? You guys all know about that one, and you were all fans of it until a protester had a gun, which to me is the peak irony of it all, because you always say that they're there to that we have the Second Amendment there literally to be able to protest against the government, and then you have a liberal with a gun protesting against the government, and you're like, oh, you can't have one while you're protesting against the government, which I just found peak irony. Third Amendment, we'll get into it. That's the one quartering soldiers. That's the one you never thought would apply in your lifetime. The Fourth Amendment against unreasonable search and seizure. The Fifth Amendment, which is for due process, double jeopardy, and self-incrimination. Then you've got the 10th Amendment for states' rights. And you've got the Trump administration saying to the state of Minnesota, if you give up your state rights, we'll let you have your First and Second Amendment rights. You've got the 11th Amendment, which protects states' sovereign immunity, which that one we don't talk about much, but yeah, he's violating amendments you don't even know what are. The only one out of the first 11 I couldn't find where he violated is the 7th one, where that's the one. Do you know what the 7th Amendment is, Patsy? Who knows what the 7th Amendment is? Anybody know? The 7th Amendment is the one that you can't, if you want to sue somebody for more than $20, you're guaranteed a jury trial. That's the one that, that's the one. If you guys could see Kitty right now, she's like very animated. So I only ever hear you guys talk about the Constitution when it's anti-Trump. You guys would rather eradicate the Constitution. Okay, you literally just said that defending the eradication of the Constitution. MAGA are Nazi cowards. It's over with. Your cause is done. 60% of the country today weighed in on it on CNN, LMAO. I have no idea what that is supposed to mean. That is like 2 sentence fragments got together, had a baby that was a run-on sentence, and they were all just dumb as fornication. Like that is, I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. That's just like a bunch of random words thrown together. Are you a bot? You look like you might be a bot. No, they steal elections. Yeah. Adolf, Trump, ICE, MAGA are terrorists, traitors, and Nazis. Well, they are definitely trying to inflict terror to get their way. Yes, Violet. No, well, we'll go through that, Adam. I do bring receipts. By the way, how long did it take you to become this stupid? Well, still smarter than you. So the irony is we don't have all the facts yet. And why did we have extra clips at a protest? Why does it matter? We have the facts we need. He didn't have a gun. He got shot 10 times. That's all the facts you need. That's just plain and simple. There's only one reason that an officer can shoot a civilian, and that is if that civilian is an immediate threat to somebody. He was not a threat because they took his gun away. Ergo, what's he going to do? Throw the clip at somebody? Like what was he going to do with the clip? What does the clip matter? And why does he have a? You're sitting there arguing why he shouldn't have a Second Amendment right in defense. And when I'm talking about how Trump has taken away your Second Amendment right, I thought that's the one you guys loved. I thought that's the one that you pleasured yourself with. Like you read that while you're pleasuring yourself. So you dumbasses don't know the law, but Soros pays you to act like you do. Ooh, wow. I haven't lost any rights by the government, but the internet is a little different. Okay. Barron Trump funds Antifa. Well, he's got it. I am owed several checks. I have never gotten a check, and it's like I'm wondering how people make all this bank off of Antifa, because I could sure use some. Crockett for Senate, 8647. Trump admin is a terrorist organization. I am so like here's my thing on this, because I live in Texas too, and I was so happy when James Tallarico announced he was running, because I really like James Tallarico. I was all for James Tallarico. And then the only thing I don't like about Jasmine Crockett is that I like her even more than I like James Tallarico, and now I'm conflicted. I don't know which one to vote for, so I'm going to be happy either way. I think that they both have different strengths. But I think like some people are like, oh, well, she's going to be too liberal and she's going to be too polarizing. And it's like, well, we've tried going with the moderate white guy enough times and not gotten anywhere. So why not try and get some votes on the left? Be the change you want to see in the world. You guys are a fraction of mass hysteria, and you think you're solving the problem. Cute. It's like child complaining. See, this is the problem with people like Cash Toe here, is you don't actually know what we think at all. You don't have any idea at all what you're talking about. You just yell things that you saw on Newsmax, as though that makes you somehow some sort of informed person. Son, I crap more than you have ever learned. Remember that no ICE agent has ever died in the line of duty. I think one did get a scratch on his hands. Okay, just Kaj Toe. We have limited patience with people that just paste the same content the same comment over and over again. So just warning you, please don't do that. Otherwise you'll get banned. We don't want you dominating the conversation with just redundant stupidity. Some of you scheduled suburban dummies think you're not next. Yes. So Kurt Swift there. Wait. Kurt Swift. What does that mean? I was thinking there was a baseball player named Kurt Swift, but maybe not. Anyway. We have no law. We have laws to instill order and keep the peace, and we have fools who violate those laws. My rights are still intact. Yes, but you know what? What about when those laws? What law? I don't know what laws you're talking about. Anyway, we'll get into all this in a second. Because right now, the whole point of this slideshow is that we actually build the conversation around substance. So let's do that. Let's try talking about, a little thing I like to call reality. Let's start with the freedom of speech. There was a student visa revoked for by the way, I meant to mention this before. So if you're on the YouTube channel, it's in the description. But if you're not, I'll paste it in the comments. And this is a link to this slideshow that I'm looking at right now. And so if anybody wants to look at that, they can. And there is, in the slideshow, there is, for each of these pages, for the most part, there is, if you look in the speaker's notes, you'll see links. And those links will open up into new pages. So those links are the original source. So it's not just something I said or whatever, that there's actual substance behind what I'm saying. I am not just making it up or whatever. So there have been students, a number of students, who had their visas revoked for simply protesting, like not breaking any laws, not doing anything. This Rumeska Ozaric, a Turkish PhD student at the Tufts University, had her visa revoked for just co-authoring an op-ed criticizing the university's response to the war in Gaza. And that's what we call violating the freedom of speech. She was a legal resident, and she had every legal right to say what she wanted to say. It wasn't violent speech or anything like that. There was absolutely nothing wrong with what she said, other than that Donald Trump disagreed with it, or Stephen Miller. And she's not the only one. A number of visas were revoked just simply for protesting, a First Amendment right. There's federal prosecutors have threatened to pursue charges against anyone criticizing ICE operations, including just making hyperbolic statements about them. Can you imagine that? Somebody from the Trump administration getting all triggered because somebody is being hyperbolic. Like, Trump would never be hyperbolic, right? Like, we've never heard him say anything hyperbolic. Everything that Donald Trump says is the greatest thing that anybody ever said, and everything that Biden ever said was the worst thing that ever that anybody ever said. And Donald Trump has made the country the greatest it has ever been, and Joe Biden has made it the worst it ever was. But Donald Trump has never, ever, ever said a single thing that is the least bit possibly hyperbolic. But now they're all anti-hyperbole. Like, if you just point out that the Gestapo and ICE comparisons aren't really fair because at least the Gestapo didn't wear masks, and when you showed them your papers, they believed them. So yeah, they've threatened prosecution for saying mean things about ICE. They've labeled protesters as domestic terrorists for exercising speech rights. They called Alex Preddy a terrorist. They called Renee Good a terrorist. Terrorist is a word that means something. And there is nothing in any of their histories that indicates that they are terrorists. There is an interpretation that they have made of their acts on the specific days, which do not jibe with reality. And then they're using those made up actions to defend the notion that they were domestic terrorists. As though they were just dropped her kids off from school, and then she was just driving home, and she's like, I think I'm going to become a domestic terrorist on the way home with stuffies in the glove compartment box and my wife in the passenger seat and my dog in the back. I don't know. I just feel like today's a good day to be a domestic terrorist and run over a cop. Or the nurse whose last words were, "Are you okay?" was a domestic terrorist. And not the half dozen people that maced him and then beat him and then pistol whipped him and then took his gun away and then fired bullets into his body. No, those guys aren't the terrorists. The guy who tried to help a woman up was the terrorist. James Comey sees some seashells arranged in 86 and took a picture of it, and they literally investigated him and wanted to prosecute him for that. That is a violation of free speech. And it's not just whether or not you convict somebody, it's whether or not you disrupt somebody's life over something they merely said. Nobody, not one of these persons said anything remotely illegal, but they had the power of the federal government leveraged against him. And that is a violation of the First Amendment. I don't care if you voted for Trump. I don't care if you voted for this. It's still a violation of the Constitution. How has he violated the Second Amendment? We'll get to that. We're starting with the first. We're going in order. So now Trump runs his mouth to piss. No, I take him seriously when people start dying on the streets. You need to stop apologizing for him, or stop thinking that the president's job is to like troll the libs or something. No property was destroyed, dude. No property was destroyed in Minnesota. And nobody in Minnesota was attacked except the people that ICE attacked. It is sad that you don't seem to appreciate how awesome it is to be. And so awesome that you don't see how awesome it should be to be a citizen of the United States. You're the one defending people getting murdered, citizens getting murdered. Were the January 6ers terrorists? Some of them were. Like the ones that were convicted of conspiracy and stuff, the ones that were convicted of the sedition, yeah, those guys were terrorists. But that they weren't this anywhere near the same thing as Renee Good or Preddy. I have a friend that was at the January 6th protest. She went there with her kids. You know what they did after the speech ended? They left. They didn't go into the Capitol building and beat the shit out of police officers with a flagpole. They didn't wipe their crap on the walls. They didn't like scream "Hang Mike Pence" over and over again. They went home after the protest. Yes, I defend MAGA's rights to protest as much as anybody. But what they were doing did encroach on terrorists. They literally planned a violent attack on the Capitol building in order to inflict terror and to provoke political change. That's what terrorism is. So what about here is false because they were terrorists. That doesn't mean everybody is. I was definitely not a fan of George Bush. I always like to say, I like to say before George Bush came along, I never thought I could be smarter than the president. And before Donald Trump came along, I never thought George W. Bush could be smarter than the president. So, no, Pat, you didn't like that one? There does not need to be terrorism to arrest people. Adolf Trump is turning on MAGA soon. Trump is killing Americans. Well, yes, he's vicariously killing them through ICE. Actually, Trump said no more guns today in a press. I bet NRA is going to love that. Even the NRA pushed back on what they were saying about this guy having a gun. SCOTUS has ruled 7 times on immigration and due process. The previous decades of officers follow the rulings and procedures. Why can't 2025 follow them too? Right. We'll get into this. So, property damage. There wasn't any property damage. I don't know what you're talking about, property damage. Renee Good wasn't breaking anything, and neither was Preddy. Okay, so let's we'll get into all. Let's go through this slideshow. That's why I set it up. Okay, so let's actually talk about exactly that. What does this whole thing come from with the statute about the whole inflicting thing? Says that trying to find the right. Whoops. Sorry, dude. Go back here. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. So protecting, this is the statute that they use to say you're obstructing or you're getting in the way of the government or whatever. So let's talk a little bit about what that actually means. So it says the relevant context of the actual statute: whoever forcibly assaults, resists, opposes, impedes, intimidates, or interferes with any person designated in section 1114 of the title while engaged in or account of performance of official duties. Like that's what it is to obstruct. It is to forcibly assault, to forcibly resist. And the courts have heard this over and over again, and they have determined that the relevant part here is, the most important word here is forcibly, and it applies to every single one of those verbs. So it's like forcibly assaults, forcibly resists, forcibly opposes, and the court has determined that forcibly here means like physically prevent. It doesn't just mean, oh, he put his hands on an ICE officer's chest, or it doesn't mean she was blocking one lane of traffic. It means that they physically prevent somebody from being able to do their job. This is, and we'll go through the court history in this in a second. The same statute, I also want to point out, says nothing contained in this section shall be construed or applied so as to abridge the exercise of rights guaranteed under the First Amendments of the Constitution of the United States. So even in the act that they're using, even in the statute they're using to arrest people, it specifically states that you can't use this act to arrest people when they're just exercising free speech. So even the act itself that they are using recognizes there is a big, huge line here you cannot cross. So let's look at some of the court history on this statute and see how the court has determined what it means. The first thing is, can you record the police? You've seen a lot of people talking about, can you record it with their phone? Alex Petrie was recording with his phone. Was that allowed? Was that constitutionally protected speech? And according to Glick versus Knief, it is. Citizens have a clearly established First Amendment right to record police officers performing their duties in public. The First Amendment's aegis extends further than the text prescription on laws abridging freedoms of speech or the speech, and encompasses a range of conduct related to the gathering and dissemination of information. So that is absolutely protected speech. That is what the court has said. This was not a one-off hearing or something like that. 7 different federal court circuits, the 1st, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, and 11th, have all upheld this, and just recently the 2nd. The Supreme Court has never heard it. I don't know if they ever will. But something does not have to go to the Supreme Court in order to be considered precedent. According to the Supreme Court, only will hear a case if there's valid question. So the fact that it's come up all of these times and the Supreme Court has never heard it is only an indication that the Supreme Court accepts this ruling. They don't think there's any question about it. So recording ICE, application to ICE, recording ICE operations is protected speech, and it does not constitute impeding under USC 111, 18 USC 111. It just doesn't. You cannot charge somebody under 18 USC 111 and then because they're recording. And I've seen ICE officers literally make that threat and quote that statute. So that's a violation of the First Amendment. Oh, I forgot to change the recording. That top banner, that's not what it should say. This is about like warning people. I'll have to fix that. But like, is it okay to honk your horn or shout or yell or blow a whistle? Are those things legally allowed under the First Amendment, or are those things obstruction? So the holding, this was on a particular case about where people were flashing their headlights to warn other people that there was a speed trap. Flashing headlights to warn other drivers about speed traps is constitutionally protected speech under the First Amendment. Judge Henry E. Autry's ruling, there's no difference between a verbal warning and a mechanical warning. Both are protected speech. So in that, even in that, well, what about, that's flashing your headlights. That's not like honking a horn. But his whole point was that it's the same thing as an audible warning. So obviously an audible warning is also protected speech. These are some other cases. State versus Walker in Tennessee, 2003, Florida trial courts. Headlight flashing is protected. Oregon, judge ruled citation for warning violated free speech. Application ICE, honking horns, shouting La Negra, or warning others about ICE presence is protected speech and cannot constitute impeding. So you hear a lot of people about, they're following them around and honking their horn, and that's impeding their operations, and that's illegal. No, it's not illegal. It's 100% legally protected speech. That you don't like that speech doesn't mean that it's not speech. It's still speech. That's the thing about First Amendment rights, is you're allowed to exercise them. Otherwise, what's the point of them? This is following police. Is it okay to follow police? And there's a difference between following police and blocking police. Recording is protected as part of the gathering and dissemination of information about what public officials do on public property. The Cato Institute federal judge findings, protest actions did not forcibly obstruct or impede the agent's work. So as long as you're following, you're not getting in their way. You're not forcibly, i.e. physically impeding them. And impeding them physically means preventing them. Again, so this is not like blocking one lane of traffic while they drive by. If they can drive by, they're not being blocked. Following ICE agents to observe and document is protected requires physical obstructions to violate the statute. So this is all court history. This is not my opinion about things. This is not MSNBC or CNN. This is the actual court system. This is the actual way the courts have interpreted the actual Constitution. If you don't like it, too bad. Read the Constitution. Read the court hearings. That's why I put the link in the thing so that you can find the links and the actual court cases. So there's a contradiction between what that statute actually says and how the Trump administration and ICE and MAGA are all interpreting it. What the state requires is to forcibly assault, forcibly resist, forcibly oppose, even say the word physically assault, physically resist, physically oppose, physically impede, physically intimidate, or physically interfere. You have to actually physically prevent the ICE from being able to do its job. Honking your horn is 100% legal. What the law protects and what the First Amendment protects is you can record the police. You can warn others about police presence. You can follow the police to observe. And yes, you can criticize the police. And unlike some clown on Fox, I forget which one it was, there's no audible limit either. If they get in your face and you yell, you're allowed to yell. There's no, you don't have to use your inside voice when you protest. What the Trump administration is prosecuting are things like honking horns, which is legal, shouting warnings, which is legal, recording with phones, which is legal, following agents, which is legal, and making hyperbolic comments according to the Shorty McSnorty that got kicked out. What's his name? Bavino. You know why Bavino puts sand? Here you go, Patsy. You know why Bavino puts sand on his ping pong table? So it can double up as a volleyball net. Like that. Beach volleyball there on his ping pong table. All right, little short joke. I'm a short guy too, and I'm taller than him. None of these involve physical force, which is what forcibly requires. All right, so breaking ICE just shot another person in Arizona, and that person is critical. Oh. Stop murdering people, ICE. So Kitty just told me about the person in Arizona that was shot. So we'll wait. We'll go ahead with this. We'll come back to this later on in the show if we get some more information. You know why he got kicked out of, why he got removed from his job? He came up short. His I could just go on all day. He's so short he even has to look up to Jim Jordan. Oh my goodness. All right. He's so short he has to stand on a step stool to put on his socks. Okay. The video of the new shooting. Stop protecting criminals, liberals, he said, protecting a criminal. Like, you're the one that's protecting a murderer right here. You literally are protecting a murderer. You watched 6 people put 10 bullets into an unarmed man, and you're telling me to stop protecting criminals. Just because they have uniforms on and got paid $50,000 to leave their trailer park does not make them law officers. What about blocking vehicles and climbing on the hood and laying down in front of the cars? Okay, if somebody were to actually block a vehicle, I mean literally block it so that the car could not get by, and they were to climb on the hood and lay down in front of cars, that would be considered obstruction of justice. That would not be grounds for lethal force. That's one of the things that you guys want to conflate, is anything that is obstruction of justice then becomes grounds to do whatever you want. You still have your rights to due process after that. Like you would have been sitting there just putting caps on the people, putting caps into you would have been shooting the black kids that sat at the segregated counter. They broke the law, therefore they deserve to die. Did you hear he said there would be consequences? Yes, that's one of that part of the whole hyperbole thing that I was talking about. So hey, Patrick, the bag, the bag. Welcome to the show. I think it's the first time I've seen you. It's nice to have more reasonable people on here. Sometimes it just becomes troll heavy. Okay, I don't know what angle you saw where he had a gun in his hand and he was a threat to anybody, but you're literally the only one that's seen it from any angle that shows that. I saw the angle where somebody literally pulled the gun out of his holster right before he got shot. So you can sit there and talk about your angles and what you saw and blatant lies and blah, 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 but you're just lying. You never saw an angle where he was like pointing a gun at anybody and he was a threat to anybody. And in order to like be grounds for lethal force, he had to actually be a threat to somebody. He was never a threat. You can talk about whether or not, you can debate whether or not he was obstructing justice, and you can debate all these things. I've talked to several prosecutors that have said that both with him and with Renee Good, that they would never win at trial with that. They would never even take it to trial because they never get it past the grand jury. But you be you. You're okay to think that they could have gotten a conviction on obstruction. You're fine. There haven't been any convictions on obstruction out of the thousands of arrests. But you be you, because nobody else wants to be. Okay. He didn't reach for it. He never touched it the whole time. The only people that touched it were the ones that put bullets in his head right after they touched it. Not anymore. I mean, I like the this is actually I don't know if you did this on purpose, but it actually makes me laugh. Sorry, I don't know if you did this on purpose, but like, because like it's like you're not all. It's like not all men, you know. Like the idea. Well, okay, most ICE agents live in trailer parks, bro, but not all of them do. That's like what I don't know if you did. If you did that on purpose, you're hilarious. If not, you're still hilarious. You just didn't mean to be. Oh, so he did. Okay. Thank you. Some just live in meth labs. Yes. By the way, if you haven't seen Pluribus, the speaking of meth labs, it's got a strange connection. But Gillian, he's got a new TV series out. The guy that did Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. And so that's the meth lab connection. And it's got Rhea, what's her name in it? The girlfriend lawyer from Better Call Saul, Rhea something or other. But she's in it. She's fantastic. It's a great show. It's on Apple Plus if you haven't watched it. Yes, ICE PB are not operating as agents of immigration service at all in Minneapolis. That is what media. Yes, and that's a big point. Like both Border Patrol and ICE, they have a scope. ICE isn't considered law enforcement. Border Patrol is more considered law enforcement, but even their scope doesn't extend to American citizens and local policing. Like they're not supposed to be doing traffic control. They don't have any right to do that, or detaining somebody for doing traffic control. He's so short, he walks under the bathroom stall doors. Like, why do they make these doors so high? Operating as a pretext to harass all residents who are not white. We know how immigration is not the actual goal because the rate of undoxed residents and it's actually on the low end. When like nobody wants to go live in Minnesota that's lived in a warm climate, but yeah, I think the undocumented immigrants is like 1.5% in Minnesota. So why do you need 3,000 ICE agents there? That's like almost as many. Actually, I think there's an estimated like 2,500 undocumented immigrants there. Or at least there's 2,500 that are on the worst of the worst. So they need like more than 1-to-1 ratio. No, it doesn't make him a threat. We'll get to that in a second. We'll get to all that silliness in a second. That's why I put together the thing. He didn't bring a gun to a peaceful protest. He wasn't at a protest. He was being a legal observer. Did you see people walking around with signs and chanting? Like he didn't bring it to a protest. Number one, you know who brought a gun to a protest? Kyle Rittenhouse. That's his name. He brought a gun to a protest. Were you complaining about that? Now it's like, oh, well, but he was a counter protest. He was protecting against the protesters. No, there's no law that you can't bring your gun to a protest. You know, so it doesn't make a difference. But the biggest part of this that makes me laugh so hard is that you guys have been defending the Second Amendment because it's so you can protest when the government gets too tyrannical. It's to defend yourself against that. It's so that you can protest. Do you think they didn't have guns at the Boston Tea Party, Deb? He was he was pepper sprayed, disarmed, and then murdered. But I think that's your point. Entering a home or property. Yep, we'll get to the Fourth Amendment too. Is not very bad on privacy matters, but highly dangerous as you see people already taking the charge to criminally exploit that thing. And that's another part of this whole thing that I haven't gotten into. But with the mask too, there are literally people that are driving around like ICE officers with the mask and everything, dressed up, and they're like kidnapping people and robbing people. There's actual people that have been convicted of that. So there's people pretending to be ICE officers, and ICE is making it so easy for them. Oh, wow. I just realized you're starring some of these comments for me, Patsy. Remember, presidents were impeached for just violate one. Yes. King Taco is a damage control mode. He knows. ICE bleeped up big. That I was thinking yesterday. Wait, what's the day? What day of the week is it? Today is Tuesday, right? Yeah. So, and then he reversed course a little bit today. So you know what that makes this? That makes this Taco Tuesday. Like, see, that one was so easy. Here, I gotta do this. Hang on. Let's see if. There we go. The crowd got a big laugh out of that one. Preddy did nothing until the ICE officers made it chaotic, and then they say it was so chaotic. He wasn't even like really fighting back, I don't think. I think when you, if somebody comes up to you and sprays mace in your face, you're going to tend to have some kind of physical reaction. Like most people aren't just going to sit there and go, ow. You know, like they're going to like try and rub the stuff out of their eyes. It's like a physical reflex. So he got mad. They like act like he was trying to attack them or something when he was just trying to wipe the stuff that they had just sprayed into his face out of his eyes. Blocking traffic, even if true, is not a criminal offense. It's certainly not one that merits lethal force. Do you think ICE are properly trained in 47 days? No, probably not. And 30% of them fail their physical. Over half of them fail they have 2 tests they're supposed to take. One is on the Constitution, and one is on immigration law. Half of them fail both of those tests. These are not the brightest group of people in the trailer park. In any case, they can't arrest U.S. citizens. That's a police job. And that there are 3 exceptions to that. One, if they are like physically interfering, with a crime, with a police operation. Like if they're trying to arrest somebody and somebody comes up and tackles them, they could arrest them for that. If I think so, that's one. If there's a federal warrant for a federal crime for their arrest, they can issue the warrant. And there's one other thing, but it's a very, very limited circumstance. They generally are not supposed to be messing around with U.S. citizens. They're strictly for immigration. Keep telling the truth. Keep up the truth telling, Pancho. Thank you, sir. Appreciate the encouragement. Some live in meth tabs too. Okay, so yeah, he was armed by default. That no, we've already. I don't know. Maybe I already read that one. He was shot after he was not the same instant. And the guy that fired the first gun, people are like, oh well, he. But you can watch his eyes. Watch the guy take the gun out. He knew exactly what was happening. Walmart employees are better trained. When I worked as I was a trainer for when I wrote help centers for Google, I got promoted up to trainer, and it took more than 47 days to train people how to do that job, which actually was a more complicated job. Most of the people we worked with had graduate degrees and years of writing experience, but it's a really specific type of writing, and it took time to train people on that. Jobs, I hate the words unskilled job. I don't think there's any such thing as an unskilled job. All jobs are skilled. Just some require more education. A plumber is a skilled job. An electrician is a skilled job. It doesn't require a college degree. It just requires actual knowledge and experience. ICE is considered federal law enforcement, and ICE is, yeah. There's a specific. They have jurisdiction over illegal immigrants. That's it. Will the Dems help me pass Bill 322A for dismantling all gun laws in New York that trample on our country? I don't know. I don't know the relevance here. I'm just saying, if you are for the Second Amendment, then you should be defending Preddies. If you voted for our support, Adolf Hitler, you are a non-existent to me. I would never help anyone who is MAGA. Wait, so you hate Kyle? No, dummy. I'm saying that if you defended Kyle for doing the same, then why are you attacking Preddy? I'm pointing out your double standard. I'm not saying that I have one. I would say one big difference between Kyle and Preddy is Kyle pointed his gun at people. Preddy never even put the gun in his hand. And apparently he didn't. Like, there's some confusion that he like just chose to wear a gun that day and didn't normally wear one. From everything I've heard, he wore his gun all the time. It was kind of standard for him. He got up, he strapped on, he carried his gun. That's what I think a lot of people with concealed carry license do. They don't just get them so they can wear them to protest. But Kyle Rittenhouse was running around with the long gun and pointing it at people all day long. Couldn't hear that at trial. The judge went and let it. But there were all kinds of witnesses that said that he was pointing his gun at people all day long. But yeah, so he touched his gun. That's a big difference. Your chances of shooting somebody with your gun are a lot greater if you're actually holding it. It wasn't a protest. Sorry. You're just wrong. I mean, we've seen the tapes. There was a riot and cities. No, there was not a riot and there were no cities burning. I think he was hoping for. Nobody ever got as rich and famous off of killing a couple of people as Kyle Rittenhouse did. There's a reason we have so many. Yes, because there were other people that were observers, but there wasn't a protest. There were just like a half dozen, 20 people. There was some media there. There wasn't there weren't like throngs of people holding up posters and stuff. Walmart employees are better. Okay. He's speaking confidently out of his ass, and you shouldn't believe a word that's coming out of this man's mouth. He knows nothing about the subject, and he's just regurgitating propaganda. She said, regurgitating propaganda. The MAGA counter protesters here in Tampa always come carrying. Lifelong liberal and hunter. Democrats definitely have guns. Tim Walz has a gun. Kamala Harris has a gun. I don't have a gun. I don't want one. The city was literally on fire. Looting was happening. And you can still see the burned buildings. They never... Yeah, I think we're done with your comments. Every one of your comments are for Trump, you ret. Okay. Even the NRA wants an investigation. Okay, so let's go back to the... Is there anything good? Yeah, that's a good point that I've thought of too. Like they didn't even when they found out he had a gun, it was like 3 seconds until he was dead. They didn't take him down because he had a gun. They took him down because he tried to help a woman up. They didn't know he had a gun until they were already pistol whipping him. Right? They did not need to shoot the guy. I don't really understand why you're asking that question. Still be alive. Oh, Moose duty. You're back. Still be alive. Someone messed up big time, but to keep the pedantic nonsense about ICE being dumb it's not pedantic nonsense about ICE being dumb. It's about these ICE did not follow police procedure. These ICE, apparently one of them had some years of training, but it's a fact that training has been cut down to 47 days. It's a fact they've lowered the standard. These people are failing their physical, they're failing their tests, they're failing their immigration tests, they're failing their constitutional tests. That's not being pedantic. That's not nonsense. That's not, cherry picking something. That's actual facts. Dismissing that there is this at worst or at best, at worst, it's murder. At best, it's gross incompetence. If you want to defend ICE, the best thing you can hope for is just that it's gross incompetence and terrible training. And if I can be so bold as to say, these are DE ICE hires. These are people that were hired. They lowered the bar just so they can hire people. Does that sound familiar? They call it DE ICE hires. Oh, okay. Go. So we've got there's a drum roll. There's here. So this one is that what you're looking for? We got this one. So Kitty's trying to help me out with the sound effects. But anyway, there you go, Moses. So took the gun, then was shot. Crazy to defend the dudes that attacked Rittenhouse. Who defended them? And what their criminal history was is kind of irrelevant because Rittenhouse Like they had already served their time, and Rittenhouse is not some agency of the court that gets to go around and execute people after they've already missed it. I did not call them white trash. I made a joke about trailer parks. That's all I did. And I don't call people white trash. Thank goodness the chat isn't a reflection of actual reality. We'd be in a lot of trouble if it's all. I mean, I get where you're coming from, but I want to point out these people are what I said is true. They're failing their physicals, they're failing their exams. It's also true that Homeland Security is literally using extremely racist, Nazi style messaging to get them. They're not doing any kind of screening, mental health screening or anything. You're going to get some racist people that just want to go out and kill people. You're getting big, dumb, gravy seal racists. I'm not trying to be mean when I say that. I'm just making an objective observation. I've seen some of these people. We've watched what they're doing. We see it, dude. It's not a generalization if it's true, but somehow it's okay to go after every single minority in the state of Minnesota because of what some Somali people did that are citizens. Well, what's this? All right, so hang on. What do we got here? Is this the shooting in Arizona? Well, this is what's going on here, Kitty. Kitty? Oh. Is that what you're... Yeah, there wasn't a riot. There were some people standing around and recording and stuff, but there was no riot. So, all right, let's go back to this. I need to get back to this. Okay, so yeah, we're here. Here we are. So then the next part of assembly are these are some of the people that were arrested for doing constitutionally protected protesting. Mark Pettibone, he was abducted in a unmarked van back in 2020. He's one of those ones they just drove around in these unmarked vans and they throw people in the back of the van and drive away. Christopher David, who is a Navy vet who was beaten and pepper sprayed for peacefully protesting. Max Smith, and all of these people have current litigation going on. Max Smith was shot in the head with impact munition, was temporarily blinded. Andre Miller was shot in the head with a tear gas canister. Evelyn Bassey was grabbed by camouflaged agents and detained without cause. Dustin Obermeyer and Nicholas Dennison were beaten with batons, shot point blank with chemical irritant. This is one of the things I've noticed they're doing that is really disturbing. I don't know if you've ever experienced tear gas firsthand, but when I was in the military, we had, if anybody else was in the military, you can confirm this, but we had a exercise like where you had to learn to put on your chem gear and stuff. And when you learn to put on your chem gear, one of the things you had to do is you had to go into this trailer and experience the chemicals firsthand, so you wouldn't, if you were actually in a crisis, you would know what it's like. And I saw some of the biggest, meanest, baddest dudes run out of there, like like literally in tears, but not like in tears because they had tear gas. Um, but an extreme amount of pain. It really, really sucks to be hit with tear gas, and that was not being just sprayed straight into our eyes. Like they sprayed that stuff straight into Pretty's eyes. They right into his eyes from just like a foot away. I can't even imagine how much that hurts. I just having experienced being gassed. You know, if you've never experienced being gassed, then you have no idea how much that hurts. But to have it happen like straight into your eyes like that, I mean, think about having a lemon squirted into your eye and then amplify that by about 10,000. Or a habanero pepper, like somebody just rubbing a habanero pepper into your eye. Yeah, we covered. Thanks, Kirk. We covered what exactly obstruction means. And that's not it. Or and what Kirk is saying is accurate. It has to be physical, and it has to prevent the ICE official, or it has to be a threat that prevents them. Like, if you do that, I will shoot you. That would be considered obstruction. Honking your horn or something is not. Trump should remove all ICE CBP from Minnesota, allow the state to be a sanctuary for legal immigrants working with permanent residency in the state, and withdraw all federal funding from the state. I don't agree with. I agree with the first part. Actually, I don't even think Walz agrees with the first part. They just want it to go back to normal. It's not about whether they allow the state to be a sanctuary for illegal immigrants. I don't even think most people understand what a sanctuary state means or what a sanctuary city means. It's just become this term that's like, sanctuary does not mean that you can't be arrested. It doesn't mean that ICE can't arrest you. It just means that the local officials can't be co-opted by ICE to coordinate with them. That's all it means. In Minnesota, each county operates separately on whether or not how much they operate with ICE. Minneapolis actually is willing to cooperate with ICE and wants to cooperate with ICE. Most of the bad guys, what happens? You know, people need to understand what is actually at happens here. Is you have somebody, let's say somebody gets convicted of armed robbery and they get sentenced to 4 years in prison, and they're an illegal citizen. Or an illegal alien, not an illegal citizen. They're an illegal alien. And then after their 4 years are up, they have served their time. Legally, the prison has to let them go. Because you can't, it's unconstitutional, even for an illegal citizen or an illegal alien to hold them in jail without charges. And if they've already served their sentence, you can't just hold them there. So what they do is they call ICE. And they say, hey, we've got an illegal alien here that's getting out of jail on November 20th. We need you to come pick him up. Well, then November 20th comes and ICE doesn't. And so then on November 20th, they are obligated to let that person go. They don't have the means to deport anybody. They don't have the legal authority to deport anybody. That's why ICE is supposed to come. But ICE doesn't come. And this is not something that started under Biden. This is not something that has anything to do with Biden or Trump or Obama. It's been going on for 30 years. ICE has been understaffed. And now they're fully staffed. There's plenty of staff, but they're doing the wrong things. Why aren't they going after these guys that have been released? The problem is not that, we are protecting these, worst of the worst, the rapists and murderers. It's that ICE is going after the moms and the roofers and the farmers instead of those guys. So that's number 2. Number 3 is you can't just pull federal funding from a state. They paid those taxes. You can't just say, oh, you only get taxes if you do what I say. That's a 10th Amendment right. to govern your state according to the way you want. You don't. The federal government can't tell the state how to run it. That kind of defeats the whole point. So, and you can't tell the state that you have to cooperate because the state is allocating its police based on its budget. And that means that those police then, when they're cooperating with ICE, aren't doing the things that they were hired to do. So, I mean, you've got to look at these things. You seem like an intelligent person. And so I just encourage you to actually research this opinion a little bit, because there are real things that matter here. Wow. Patsy been going to town. I don't know who's acting stupid or who was acting stupid. Trying to help a woman to her feet is not acting stupid. The reason ICE had to send goons is because states act seditiously with their. Being a sanctuary city is not acting seditiously. I don't even know where you get acting seditiously out of that, other than it's something that Stephen Miller said. And if you ever find yourself repeating what Stephen Miller said, then the next thing you need to do is go see a psychiatrist, because that man is so insane that if you're starting to think the same way, you are in danger of losing it. And they're not helping illegals evade immigration laws. That's not what sanctuary states. At least if you're going to rail about sanctuary states and sanctuary cities, learn what they are first, instead of just bloviating the same nonsensical, tyrannical tirades that Stephen Miller does. Trump should double ICE in Minnesota. Yes, we need more death and destruction. There's already 3,000 there. These immigrants, we can't stand. They can't drive. They take our jobs and blah, 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 blah. It's pretty simple. If Walz would allow ICE to get all the detained illegal aliens at the point of contact, ICE wouldn't be in the streets. Walz is not preventing ICE getting detained illegal aliens at the point of contact. He's not. He wants them to. That's literally what he is asking to happen. ICE is doing everything except what you are saying they should be doing. That's why we have problems. They're not doing that. Out of the 3,000 people they've arrested, 8.5% are actually, real criminals. Beyond, and I don't know what percent of them are even undocumented migrants. A lot of them are also American citizens. A lot of them are people that are legal residents. A lot of them are just people of color that were filling their car with gas. But only 8.5% are actual people who have ever been convicted of a violent crime. Obstruction charges are considered unconstitutionally vague and are never challenged because they almost never make it past PC hearings. It is actually judged. Yeah, I think there's out of over 100 that have been, out of over 100, all but 55 have been dropped. Of the 55 that have been dropped, only 7 have made it past the grand jury, and there have been no convictions. And that's across the entire country through all of 2025. There's nothing normal about 95. I don't even know what is 95% plus heritage American. I don't even know what that means. What is American heritage? Even Native Americans don't have American heritage, because there was no America until we made it America. They just have Cheyenne heritage or Dakota heritage. All persons, yes. And I would say, like, to some degree, and I wish we could start thinking this way, people have rights. Like, I don't have the right to free speech because I'm an American, and I don't have the right to due process because I'm an American. I have those rights because I'm a human being. I don't even have those rights because, like sometimes people want to say, well, God gave them to me. Whatever. I have a right because I'm a human being. And there are some countries that don't respect those rights, and there are some countries that do respect those rights. But those rights exist regardless of whether the government acknowledges them or not. Those rights exist in Iran. And so when you those rights exist in Iran, but Iran doesn't recognize those rights. So what you're saying is that Iran is kind of right, not you, Quintan, but because what you're saying is correct. All people have rights, not because they're citizens, not because they're in the United States, but because they're human beings. And that's why one of the reasons I get so tired and frustrated with people using words like illegals to describe people. Oh, do we got somebody yelling about paid protesters again? OMG, no, you didn't. I don't know who didn't do what. Try the speech in China. Whether, I'm not saying you can't get arrested for saying the wrong thing in China. I'm saying that you have free speech in China because you're a human being. China just doesn't recognize it. I know that sometimes that MAGAs aren't capable of thinking outside of their really weird worldview, but our rights are based on our humanity. They're not based on the Constitution. The Constitution identifies those rights because of our humanity. Like that is the source of their reasoning, is that people have rights. The Constitution, nowhere does the Constitution specify anything about non-immigrants not having rights or non-citizens not having rights. The idea of illegal immigrants didn't even exist for over 100 years. Like for over 100 years, it was, if you came over here, you were an immigrant. There was no legal or illegal way to come over here. You just came over here. I mean, you don't have those rights outside of the U.S. rights are just constructs. Right. And I think a lot of people do not understand that there are also a lot of other countries that recognize those rights. And the United Nations recognizes those rights. Like we're not like on this. We're not the only country that recognizes rights. You have the right to free speech in England. You have the right to free speech in France, in Germany. In Germany. We're not even the number one country when it comes to. We're not even the freest country. No, okay. Let me look this up. I had somebody was it called the World Press Freedom Index, right? So there's this thing called the World Press Freedom Index. And this is interesting. Wow. You know who has the last, let me go back. Kitty, where do you think, nobody can see you but me, but so answer the question in the chat. Where do you think that we rank? Take a wild guess. Where do you think we rank in the world on the free speech index? She says 30th. Who thinks it's higher than 30th? And who thinks it's lower than 30th? Believe it or not, we are 57th. Here, I'll show you the link. We're 57th in 2025. Uh, 57th. We were 55th last year. We were 48th. So we came down a little bit under Biden. We went down to 42nd in 2022. We're back up to 57th. We're right behind Sierra Leone and right ahead of Gambia. Liberia is ahead of us. Panama is ahead of us. Ghana is ahead of us. Number one is Norway. Top ones are Norway, Estonia, Netherlands. You know, all those socialist countries that hate freedom. Sweden, Finland, Denmark. You know how all those countries that we won't have freedom if we get rid of, if we become socialist and like them. Yeah, those are all the countries that actually have the most free speech. I don't think we're going to be doing much better next year. But anyway, I think that's interesting. 57. We're number 57. Here, I'll show you it's called the World Press Freedom Index. So there's Norway, number one. It's got a rating of 92.31. And we come down to 57. United States, 57. We're 65.49. So it looks at a number of different factors and works all of that out. But I just think that's I think most people, or some people, seem to think we're the only country in the world that has freedom. And I saw somebody in the comments talking about England doesn't have free speech because, you know, of course, he's learned everything he knows about free speech in England from reading Twitter feeds. Where is the UK? United Kingdom is 20th, way ahead of us. But what does that matter? He read a Twitter account. So we do not have the freest country in the world, believe it or not. So, all right, let's go back to here. First Amendment. These are the people that, it's not half the people. Let me go back to this. And we've got more people that were, you know, didn't have their freedom to protest rights, and I'm including freedom to monitor here. So Alex Preddy was killed. Renee Good was killed. You have the unarmed vans. You have federal agents using unmarked vans to detain protesters without identification. They're not even like identifying who they are. You've got chemical weapons that are banned in international warfare being used on protesters. Operation Diligent Valor. I think I'd love it how if they call it things like Diligent Valor, that somehow makes it either diligent or valorous. 750 federal officers deployed against protesters. You have a guy named Musbashir Khalif Hussein who was detained while walking to lunch. It's just on his way to lunch, but they thought he was a protester because he was dark, you know, and that's enough. So let's look at the second aspect of there's four aspects of the First Amendment, right? There's speech, there's press, there's religion, and there's protest. So let's look at another aspect, the freedom of the press. Journalists targeted with munitions during the Portland protests. This was in 2020. Legal observers shot with less lethal weapons. Donovan Labella was shot in the head. They aimed at his forehead, not his waist. Portland police officers covered badge names to avoid identification. Federal agents prevented documentation of enforcement actions. They don't even record how many people from the media that they have attacked and arrested and all of that. And by the way, the one woman that Petrie went to help, the one who he was trying to aid, she was actually a member of the press. So yeah, they physically assault press members while they're doing their pressly things. But that's okay. because, they're liberals. Okay. Then there's the other side of this where he goes after uh, people in the media that criticize him. There was the whole thing, he tried to sue Jimmy Kimmel just because Jimmy Kimmel made some jokes he didn't like. He tried to get him fired, and then of course you know about the reaction to that. George Stephanopoulos correctly stated that he was an adjudicated rapist, and so he sued ABC for that. Then he kind of used the power of the FCC to force ABC into settling that debate or settling that lawsuit. All because he is an adjudicated rapist. And if that offends you that I say he's an adjudicated rapist, just imagine how much it offends me that you voted for an adjudicated rapist. And if he stops raping, if he wasn't raping people and he wasn't adjudicated as someone who has raped people, I would not be calling him an adjudicated rapist. But since I don't work for ABC, there's nothing he can do about it. Then he, so then in 2025, Paramount paid Trump $16 million to set a lawsuit over edited 60 Minutes interview because they had the audacity to edit a Kamala Harris interview as though they don't edit every interview. And actually, I thought that their edits made her look worse. But whatever. So then Stephen Colbert made a joke about that. And then because Stephen Colbert made a joke about that, he's like canned 2 days later. And it's like all about the ratings. Like they suddenly decided that it was all about the ratings after decades over a decade. How long was he there? He was there for a long time. And at the end of the season like that, at the time when they normally do not make these decisions, there was he got an account settlement with YouTube because YouTube had the audacity to suspend his account just because he violated the terms of service. He's using the FCC to threaten other people with their license over and over again. Trump repeatedly urged the FCC to revoke license for ABC, CBS, NBC, and others over critical coverage. There's they defunded PBS because they're neutral and they're not like just spewing right-wing nonsense. They don't want people to hear like actual truth. Okay. If you only consider speech environment and harmful speech regulation, the U.S. will re-include. But if you include forms like public, limited, and restricted, the U.S. will rank much higher. Yeah, I don't know what all their methodology is. I just mean that we need to understand that we are not the only country that has something called free speech. Like other countries, I've lived in countries where they don't where you can get arrested for things you say, and I've known people, and we're definitely not there, but we're not. People aren't coming over here so that they can have free speech. Leftists are the ones. We're not censoring and not allowing debate. Dude, I just read your post. Do you think that does Ben Shapiro have liberals can give them equal time? What is with all this kind of nonsense? And put on a shirt, dude. You don't have any muscles. I don't know who you're trying to fool. Liberals want education and food for everybody. Want child care and support for mommies and daddies. Blocking Sorry, we've got some new comments here. Free speech in England law. Now I know use them. They don't arrest people for stuff they post online. That's a mischaracterization of what happens. The people in Minnesota are terrorists. No, they aren't. The FBI are not investigating them because they're not terrorists. It is not ICE causing this chaos. It is. Trust me, it is. I mean, it is the leftist organization. There is no leftist organization. What is the name of this organization that is being investigated? Antifa? Trump should. Okay. Sorry, we're caught up on those. Okay, so let's go on to the next thing. We're halfway through. All right, the Third Amendment. This one it's not technically a violation of the Third Amendment, but if the founding fathers could see what is happening, they would definitely feel like this is violating the spirit of the Third Amendment. The whole point of the Third Amendment was like during the Revolution and they had to give quarter to soldiers that British soldiers. So to have, who they perceived as the enemy occupying their house, this kind of militant person occupying your house whom you disagree with, is in the same spirit as what's happening with a lot of the ICE agents. There's a restaurant, Fo 79, Carville Restaurant, staff trapped inside during ICE blockade. So they're terrorizing people that are just sitting there eating in this private restaurant. ICE agents occupied Minneapolis restaurants looking through windows. So this is just trying to cast general fear. They're not looking for a specific person. They're just seeing if they can find anybody that looks like an illegal, whatever that means. And when you're beating the crap out of people and dropping them off in other parking lots, whether they're citizens or not, doesn't really make you feel like, oh, I'm okay. They're not going to beat me. Federal agents blocked streets, created secure perimeters in civilian neighborhoods, and agents in unmarked vans positioned through the civilian areas. So, okay, hang on. So who is Brandon? Mark Zuckerberg helped push the vaccine using censorship. Okay, Facebook isn't a government. What Mark Zuckerberg did is up to him, and so I guess let me see something here. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg doesn't really have anything to do with anything. I don't know why you're dragging in Mark Zuckerberg. And Mark Zuckerberg is like really not I don't think the left claims him. Do you claim Mark Zuckerberg, Patsy? I don't know anybody on the left that claims Mark Zuckerberg. Most of us despise Mark Zuckerberg. I don't know where you get that he's the leftist. I can tell you can't see, but she is definitely not a fan of Mark Zuckerberg. I'll just say this. Brandon posts, there are lots of ways to fund it so that it does not change a lot of our tax base for those not in the 1%. In fact, go look at countries who do it like Germany and see how they have. So she tells me you wanted to debate me, Brandon. Is that right? And I'm happy to debate you, but you just have to agree to the rules of the channel, which are one, you have to like it's very simple. What you say has to be true. Number two, what you say has to be relevant. And three, no cussing. Because it's a monetized channel, and so I can't have cussing. But as long as you agree to have a good faith debate, then you know, happy, I'll post you the link and you can hop on. But I mean, like, I don't know if you want to debate about Mark Zuckerberg. I don't care about Mark Zuckerberg. I don't know what kind of Mark Zuckerberg debate we're going to have. I'm more worried about the government censoring me than Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, Elon Musk is throttling liberal accounts on Twitter. There are lots of ways. Oh, wait, so we've already read that one. Read my post I'm reading your posts. Oh, I see. You want me to debate your posts. Well, I don't know what there is to debate other than Mark Zuckerberg. Rights are afforded only when yourself or someone else can enforce the right. All right, so let's go on to the rights are afforded when only when yourself or someone else can enforce the right. If no one acknowledges your right, then it doesn't exist. It's about mass control and population control, not left or right. Oh, you're into that whole that's a complete. You're completely misunderstanding what Mark Zuckerberg said. I don't know if you really. All right, so what I think, based on the population control comment and the vaccine comment, are you one of those people that thinks that the vaccines were there to kill us someday? Like there's some sort of population control thing? Or no, that's Bill Gates that said that. Never mind. Nobody's trying to control the population. There is a recognition that we can't just keep doubling all the time. 30 years ago, the population was 4 billion. Now it's getting over 8 billion, we can't have an infinite population on the planet. It needs to like slow down at some point. That's not about population control. That's just acknowledging reality. And I don't know who's mass controlling whom. I don't even know what all that means. I know there's like a MAGA conspiracy theory about how like Bill Gates came out with the vaccine so that he could kill people. All right, so they were pushed early on the CDC. Yeah, well, Donald Trump was president in 2020, and I mean, I think that I don't have a problem with vaccines, vaccine mandates. I think that they're very good. I think they saved a lot of lives. And the CDC did not state online it was experimental in the sense you did. It's just we're not going to go down a vaccine mandate, a vaccine debate. That's too much of a change in topic right now, and it's just too weird. Donald Trump was president when Donald Trump's the one that was that brought the vaccine. It's one of the few good things he did. Wow. It's one thing I give him credit for was the whole warp speed thing. All right. But it has nothing to do with this. Okay, so the Fourth Amendment. This one is the Fourth Amendment, unreasonable search and seizure. We've had 23. This is one of the reasons, like when people want to get caught up in a debate just about what's her name? About Renee Good or man, when they just want to debate about Renee Good or Preddy, and it's just like there's 2,300 people that 2,300 detentions, illegal detentions. It's not just one or two people. The one or two people that were killed, one or two American citizens that were killed in the last couple of weeks in the state of Minnesota. But there's like thousands of people that are losing their constitutional rights. They have been saying that administrative warrants allow ICE to enter homes without judicial warrants. That is not true. That is an unconstitutional statement. You can't just give yourself the right to go into somebody's house. Administrative warrants do not allow you legally, constitutionally. They're illegal. They are against the Fourth Amendment. They are not valid. They just started giving themselves warrants and giving themselves rights that they don't have. That's why we have the Fourth Amendment. What good does the Fourth Amendment do if you can just say this agency decided it can enter your home whenever it wants? If we don't all have rights, none of us have rights. Mubashir Khalif Hussein stopped without warrant or probable cause. George and Esmeralda DeLees detained while exploring areas. I think they were the ones that were just like walking around. They weren't even doing anything and they got detained. Isaac Dominguez is another one. Each of these, if you go on I'll drop the link for this again. But if you go to the it's trying to figure out where to draw the line and how many rabbit holes to go down. But this is the slideshow I'm working from. And if you go there, there's links to all of these different things. If you want to either source it or find out more about it, there's links there. Isaac Dominguez was detained without a warrant. Judge Frimpong overruled roving patrols illegal. Roving patrols were illegal. Just like driving around and just looking for brown people with accents does not constitute reasonable search and seizure. That's like illegal. You can't do that. Racial profiling is illegal. Even Kavanaugh has backed off of what he said. First, he's like, oh, nobody's going to do that, as though he was just born yesterday. And apparently he was, because he really believed it. And now he's finding out that it's not true. So as we were saying before, Mark Pettibone was searched without a warrant. He had a beanie pulled over his face. Evelyn Baskey was frisked in a van without cause. Alex Pretty was disarmed when they killed him. They've been patting down protesters without probable cause. All of this is unreasonable search and seizure. You can't just go up to a stranger on the street that's not doing anything illegal. And protesting is not illegal. And honking your horn is protesting. And yelling is protesting. You can't just go up to people who are yelling or honking their horn or blowing a whistle and then tell them, oh, we're going to, we're going to frisk you. No, that's illegal. That's against the law. That's against the Constitution. That's a violation of rights. Rights exist for a reason. So they had the Portland protesters who were just grabbed off the streets and thrown into unmarked vans. They don't identify themselves. I find it hilarious that they're all worried about Preddy didn't have an ID on him. And we don't even know that's true, right? We just know that's what they said. But if it were true, it's a $25 misdemeanor, not grounds for lethal force. And number two, they don't identify themselves. Shouldn't they identify themselves? There's a huge, this is like a thing that does not get enough attention, because what they do is they go to a protest and they arrest people under these pretexts that they're obstructing when they're not really obstructing, but they can detain somebody for like 8 hours or 12 hours. And so they just pull them out of the protests and they keep them as long as they can, and then they let them go. Usually not anywhere near where they pick them up. So they got to figure out how to get somewhere. So this has been adjudicated. All of this based on judges, multiple judges, are violations of constitutional rights. All of these are a violation of your Fourth Amendment rights. Like, this is not a debatable thing. These are actual violations of the Fourth Amendment. So now let's go into the Fifth Amendment. So we've got, oh, did we ever even do the Second Amendment? I think I forgot. I forgot to put, so the Second Amendment, forgot to put that one in there. Have to fix that one for tomorrow. Okay. So vindictive prosecution. This is one of the, this was so ugly. So they grabbed Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who like had all kinds of rights violated. And there is some misunderstanding about whether or not undocumented immigrants have rights. And the question is not one that has been unanswered by the courts. There is, let me look this up. I've done a slideshow on this. But the question of whether or not undocumented immigrants have due process is not one that's up in the air. In Plyer versus Doe in 1982, the court explicitly addressed this in the context of the 14th Amendment and by extension, the Fifth Amendment's due process clause. The majority opinion stated, whatever his status under the immigration laws, an alien is surely a person in any ordinary sense of that term. Aliens, even aliens whose presence in this country is unlawful, have long been recognized as persons guaranteed due process of the law by the 5th and 14th Amendments. Once an alien enters the country, the legal circumstances change, for the due process applies to all persons. And then Zadiva versus Davis, the court said, once an alien enters the country, the legal circumstances change, for the due process clause applies to all persons within the United States, including aliens, whether their presence here is lawful, unlawful, temporary, or permanent. Then there's also the first one was Yik Wo versus Hopkins. And then where they determined that equal protection applies to illegal aliens too. Or aliens, I think. Anyway, there's more case, but those are the most recent, most relevant cases. These are not things that I'm making up. I am not just saying do not, whatever you do not get your legal education from Donald Trump. Donald Trump doesn't even know when he fills his own diaper. Like, do not try and think that he knows what he's talking about when he says anything. And Stephen Miller, as I said before, is just like a banshee wart or something. I don't even know what to call him. He's like an infected nib. What a nub? Is it a nub? The third nipple on a man? Like, I can't think of anything more useless than that. But he's not just a nub. He's an infected nub, because it does cause pain and agony. And that's all he does. That is the entire purpose of Stephen Miller, is just to cause pain. But not like tragic, caustic pain, annoying pain. like just this constant annoying pain. So that's why I say he's an infected nub. So anyway, what happened with Kilmar Abrego Garcia is first they just shipped him off to this prison in El Salvador. All right, and so they denied his Fourth Amendment rights. They denied his Fifth Amendment rights. They denied his Sixth Amendment rights, his Fourth Amendment rights to unreasonable search and seizure and to not be arrested without cause, his Fifth Amendment rights to like have a trial, his Sixth Amendment right to have a lawyer, and his Eighth Amendment rights against cruel and unusual punishment. Because they shipped him off to this prison that is literally so bad it is not even good enough. Like the UN condemned it. It doesn't even meet the standard of a prisoner of war prison. Like it violates the Geneva Conventions. And by the way, so does Alligator Alcatraz. Like, so this guy had like all kinds of rights violated just as being a human being. And so they indicted him, and so people reacted to that, and then Donald Trump like doesn't know the difference between Photoshop and a real tattoo. And all that stuff happened, and the administration ended up getting real egg on its face over it, and ended up being ordered to bring him back. They tried not to, another constitutional violation. Eventually they had to, but then when they brought him back, they tried to. Then, after he came back, they prosecuted him for this human trafficking charge, and where they, bribed somebody to say that he was involved in the human trafficking stuff. Even Todd Blanche investigated that. The trial only started after the court. Associate Deputy AG called prosecution top priority 1 month after deportation. And hang on. Then a judge said the decision was likely made for improper motivation. And basically, this whole thing is being in danger of being just thrown out of court entirely as vindictive prosecution. Todd Blanche is being ordered to go and testify before the court about it, which is unheard of for somebody that high up to be to be ordered by the court to come in and testify about something like this. So back to the Fifth Amendment, 2300. Oh, we've got somebody was. What happened to freedom of religion and the Constitution? I don't know I don't know what you mean by that. As far as I know, they all still exist. Unless you're Donald Trump. All persons born naturalized in the United States and subject to the judge. So he's quoting the amendment. Yeah. So that's saying who is citizens. I don't know what that has to do with the Fifth Amendment. The administration admitted in the beginning that it was an error, but it didn't care. They didn't expect the level of pushback and had to scramble. Yeah, even then, I don't think that they really cared about they didn't care about the person or that they made a mistake. It was just the only thing that they cared about was they were losing the PR war. Yeah, I don't know why you're posting that big. $14th Amendment was about ensuring the rights of free. No, this has all been adjudicated. This is the courts have heard all of this, and whatever when you want to go on about, like I'm just talking about what the court has said. The Supreme Court has ruled on these things. I don't want to hear about your little things. It's like one time my brother-in-law was like one of these guys that said the income tax were illegal, and he just wanted like, and I'm just like, the court has heard this. This is a matter of settled law, you know. It doesn't matter what your opinion is about this at this point. Your opinion is completely irrelevant. My opinion is completely irrelevant. It's not just your opinion. Both our opinions is. The Supreme Court's opinion is what's relevant. And the Supreme Court's opinion is that that's not true. And the whole thing, I think somebody might be trying to get at about the people that are subject to the laws. Yeah, those people who weren't subject to the laws when they wrote that were basically, for the most part, just people that were diplomats and their families, people that had diplomatic immunity. If you have diplomatic immunity, trust me, my dad was a diplomat. I have had diplomatic immunity in other countries. It means you're not subject to the laws there. Now, if you broke the law, like my stupid older brother got busted with pot, and so my dad had to like take him back here to live with my grandmother his senior year. But it is what it is. MAGA only argues via comment bastardization and alternative facts. It's about what is legal, not the individual. No, that's not what it says. And it does, that's not what it means. Again, the Supreme Court has determined this. This is, you can think what you want, but that doesn't make you right. And just logically here, I want you to think, if somebody is not subject to their laws, how are they illegal? How can you be a legal alien if you're not subject to our laws? By virtue of the fact that they're here illegally, then they're subject to the laws, because you can't break the law if you're not subject to it. Just like my brother couldn't be prosecuted for pot possession because he wasn't subject to Liberian law. That's what it means to not be subject to the law. That's what diplomatic immunity means. It means you have immunity from the law. Well, it is an opinion, and it's a wrong opinion. It's one that the Supreme Court disagrees. You're not correctly interpreting what is in black and white. These people are here illegally. How can they be here illegally if, well, this is a bigger thing. It wasn't always a crime. It didn't become a crime until like the 90s. So if they came over here illegally before that, they didn't commit a crime when they came here illegally. Right? But number two, I don't even know what, like, anybody that commits a crime doesn't lose their rights because they committed a crime, do they? Like, that's kind of the whole point of having a trial and everything. That's the whole point of due process. You can't say, well, you committed a crime, therefore you don't get due process. That's like dumb. That is a really monumentally dumb thing. Because the whole point of due process is to determine if you committed a crime. Like, some people don't seem to think their positions all the way through. If you're here illegally, then you are subject to the laws. If you committed a crime, and due process is to determine if you committed that crime. And therefore, you did get due process. Due process is not just for innocent people. Otherwise, there's no such thing as due process. You're not a citizen, you don't get no due process. Technically, what you said is true, because you used a double negative. It does, the Supreme Court has heard this and discussed this, and yes, you get due process whether you're a citizen or not. I have no idea where I said anything at all remotely like that. And this has got, is that a troll? Or is that not a troll, but a satire account or something? That sounds like a satire thing to say, like that cannabis is. Anyway, my point is that my brother got busted in Liberia, West Africa, not here. First Amendment doesn't apply there. I also am 100% for the legalization of marijuana. And not only that, I wish, like, some people need to get stoned. Stephen Miller needs to get stoned. Pam Bondi needs to get stoned. Ted Cruz needs to get stoned. Ted Cruz needs to eat about a pound of pot brownies. I have, when they wrote that amendment, there wasn't even such a thing as illegal immigrants. There were no, there, like, illegal immigrants did not exist. Did you know that? There were no immigration laws when that was written. Yeah. And I mean, this is, and it's an important thing to point out that it says no person. It doesn't say that you have to be a citizen. Because if you can, if you don't, if non-citizens don't have rights, then all anybody has to do is say you're not a citizen and you don't have rights. And since you don't have rights, you don't have due process. Since you don't have due process, you have no way of proving you are a citizen. And if you have no way of proving you are a citizen, then you're not a citizen. Due process has to apply to everybody, or it can't apply to anybody. Again, think things all the way through. Thank you for that comment, Longbong. I bet you're, with a name like Longbong, I'm pretty sure you're with me on the whole legalized pot thing. The jiu-jitsu process modern times is to make as much money as physically possible, while bastardizing anyone and using Nixonian mythology without, and apart from the Nixonian part, whatever that means, that's been like the entirety of human history. It's a bunch of people trying to get rich while trying to convince poor people that you're not the reason they're poor. That's like every civilization ever throughout all of human history. You know, I don't care if you're talking about the Vikings or the Romans or the Confederates or the Germans or the Russians during the USSR. It's all the same. The Constitution states the overarching laws of this country. Actually, the Constitution doesn't state any laws. The Constitution is the format by which our government is run. It's how our government runs. It's not our laws at all. It tells us how to make laws, but it doesn't have any laws. Something can be illegal, and what's illegal and what's unconstitutional are two different things. But yes, the Constitution applies to everyone. Everyone has rights. Yeah, well, it does though. I mean, that's according to the Constitution, but apparently you don't understand what that means. The Constitution says that the Supreme Court ultimately decides these matters, and the ultimate and the court has repeatedly and consistently made this decision. So yeah, just because judges, not necessarily liberal, and being liberal, like, you can't just run around with this stupid attitude that only people who agree with you's opinion counts. Okay, so we're kind of done with that. Oh, okay. Hang on. Oh, gotta just send this little message here. So, all right, so let's go on here. So these are some other people that were 2,300 were detained with bond hearings while cases pending for months and years. But I guess as long as they're not January 6th defendants, only January 6 defendants can't be held without bond. July 2025 policy, mandatory detention. No opportunity to seek release. Sonic Mannerson, a 70-year-old detainee despite no threat, compliance with check-ins. Lamar Silverth deported despite court order blocking him. There's been courts have blocked removals and they went ahead. And there was that girl at Boston from is it Boston College or University of Boston or whatever. Mark Pettibone detained without charges, no arrest record. So they do this thing where they like detain people and hold them for as long as possible without charging them, just to prevent them from exercising their rights. Fifth Amendment due process, denial of counsel. Judge Frimpong, Trump admin, criminally detained U.S. citizens access to required legal counsel. Detainees held without ability to contact lawyers. Immigration Act of 1990 violations, questioning people without right to counsel. So, I mean, it's not just the Constitution. It's actually, there's actual laws that say immigrants have a right to counsel, and they're being denied that. So, Attorney Simon Sandoval says, hang on. Interesting. We'll get to the Arizona shooting once I'm done with this half of the slideshow, because there looks to be some stuff building on that. Kitty, if you can find any footage of that or anything you can find on that while I'm finishing up this one, that would be super duper helpful. Attorney Simon Sandoval, Moshburg, AP, May 2025. I have represented Kilmar Abrego Garcia for more than a month, and this body can't. Oh, this is so they tried to say that he tried to attack the police officer that pulled him over when he was doing the human trafficking thing. I have represented which of course he wasn't. I have represented Kilmar Abrego Garcia for more than a month, and this body cam video is the first time I've heard his voice. He has been denied the most basic protections of due process: no phone call to his lawyer, no call to his wife or child, and no opportunity to be heard. These are brazen Sixth Amendment violations. The Sixth Amendment, for those don't know, or like the whole right to counsel thing, right to speedy trial. There's a bunch of them, but these are mostly concentrated on the right to counsel. So he was arrested in March of 2025. He was deported to CCOT just 3 days later, which is a torture prison, which violates his Eighth Amendment rights and everybody else that was sent there. He was held there for I don't know how long, and then he got sent to another prison. Then finally, in May, after he'd been there for 2 months, an attorney got to see body cam for the first time and hear his voice. So all of these are no phone call to the lawyer after arrest, no contact with attorney during detention, no opportunity to challenge deportation before being removed, and deported before a lawyer could represent him. So when you say, oh, well, they don't get, due process. Well, what if that was you? And you have no chance to prove to anybody that you're a citizen. He was here legally, and he never got a chance to prove it. He was not illegally here. He was not living here illegally when he was deported. That's why you need due process. Okay. So this is another one. This is a girl named I don't know how to say this. Rumeza Ostruk. I know I didn't say that right. I apologize to anybody whose language that is, and I just ruined your language. But She was arrested March 25th, 2025 by 6 plainclothes ICE agents because they always need to have like half a dozen people ganging up on one poor little girl, because she's such a threat. Her lawyer didn't know where she was for the first 24 hours. They do this thing too where they move you around the country. They transfer to Massachusetts, then to Vermont, then to Louisiana, all without notice. She was a grad student in Massachusetts. Massachusetts judge ordered she not be moved, but ICE moved her anyway. So they defied court orders. Her great crime was she signed a letter that was condemning Tufts University for its cooperating or for its pro-Israel stance against Gaza and the bombing of Gaza. Which, whatever your feelings on that, people have a legal right to, have an opinion that genocide is bad. Judge ordered government not to move her out of Massachusetts. They did so anyway. They didn't inform the court. She was already in a different location after they ordered it, and they violated a court order by transferring her again. It's like they were trying to hide her from the court, which is brazenly unconstitutional. Thanks, Patsy. Firms targeted with executive orders. Okay, so this is another thing. So Donald Trump signed an executive order saying that law firms that did certain things could no longer be eligible for federal contracts. So that has some problems. We'll get into all that. But some of the firms were firms that he had a personal vendetta against. Like Perkins Coie represented Hillary Clinton. Covington and Berlin assisted Jack Smith. Wilmer Held, Jenner and Block, Sussman Godfrey. So some of the punishments were strip security clearances from all lawyers, deny access to federal buildings, cancel government contracts with firms, cancel contracts with any company using these firms. So you can say, what does any of that have to do with the Sixth Amendment? Well, the problem is that if you can't use federal buildings and you don't have federal contracts, then that means you can't represent those clients. And if you can't represent those clients, that means it makes it that much harder for those clients to get good representation. And this has nothing to do with any crimes they committed or anything like that. It's just an executive order. If you have DEI at your practice, then you're not allowed to have federal contracts anymore. You're not allowed to have a security clearance. So this is just using the power of the federal government to punish law firms and, by extension, punishing defendants who rely on those law firms. Then, but if you were willing to pay, you could get away with it. He got most of these payments came in donations to things like his library or the ballroom and stuff like that. So Paul Weiss got paid $40 million. He said the chair said executive order could easily have destroyed our firm. Skaden firm paid $100 million. Associate Brenna Trout-Fry called it protection money. Remaining firms, Wilkie, Kirkland, and Ellis, Latham, and altogether, he got about $1 billion in this protection money. And some of the terms were like they had to end DEI, and they had to work for free. They had to provide pro bono work for Trump priorities, including defending police officers accused of wrongdoing. American Bar Association lawsuit, executive orders intended to intimidate and coerce law firms and lawyers to refrain from challenging the president of his administration in court. So the American Bar Association is suing over this. The federal judge ruled, well, the Bar Association did sue over this. The federal judge ruled that Block struck down orders against Wilmer Hell, Jennifer and Block, Perkins Cole, called orders unconstitutional acts of retaliation. Paul Weiss, an alumni statement, the greatest threat to the independence of the legal profession since at least the days of Joseph McCarthy. And then the ripple effect of this was it limited the legal representation from immigrants or for immigrants. Unprecedented attack on immigrants and access to counsel, including attacks on immigration lawyers, the pro bono attorneys, by virtue of a few different things, by limiting people that could go into the buildings and stuff like that. You just limit the number of lawyers they have access to by forcing them to do these pro bono things for cops that are out there murdering people. Then, it limits the pro bono hours that are available from these law firms. And then immigration legal aid groups, they lost federal funding, big law. And they're, of course, when you're just arresting people when they're showing up for their immigration hearing, what's the point anyway? Big law firms scared to do pro bono immigration work and making it harder for those who oppose Trump to find lawyers. That's the other thing. It's just when you're doing all this, hang on. You're making it so that you've made it clear that you're going to punish law firms that don't do what you want them to do. So, okay, we'll pick up with the Eighth Amendment. We'll go back and I'll fill in the Second Amendment tomorrow, and we'll pick up with the Eighth Amendment, and we'll go through the rest of that. That's all I was able to get through. But kind of takes a while. By the way, if you've been here a few times before, and you've seen like the dashboards that I usually do you like the I'd like some feedback on whether or not you like the dashboards better or the slideshows better. I think the slideshow, I think the slideshow works better, but it does take a bit more work, but I think it's worth it. So anyway, let me know if you like the slideshow or not. What is DEI? Oh, somebody's probably thinking DEI is racist. Yeah, that's a very, very important distinction, and not just one that's semantic. It's also one that's legal. There is there are different court cases, and we talk about due process, and due process means that there is a process which is due. And different kinds of trials and different kinds of hearings have different kind of processes that are due. And there's been different court cases based on what kind of process is due if you're an undocumented migrant. And so if you are just being deported, then you have to go through the process of immigration courts, which is more of a civil process. There's a lower standard of proof. You don't have a jury trial. You're not guaranteed an attorney. But if you're going to a criminal trial, if you're going to be sent to prison, you have to be convicted in a criminal trial. And a criminal trial means you get all of that stuff. There has to be a lawyer. You have the same rights as anybody else. I know some people are still unable to accept a reality beyond what the Federalist has taught you, but it is a fact. You can't go to prison without a criminal trial. And they tried to run around that by sending them to a prison in a different country. And that is just brazenly unconstitutional. And it's also a violation of the Eighth Amendment against cruel and unusual punishment, since in that prison they received cruel and unusual punishment. So it was like they took away their Sixth Amendment right, their Fifth Amendment right, their Fourth Amendment right, and their Eighth Amendment right, all in one fell swoop. It's our house, but that means we also have to live by our rules, right? Yeah, they as far as they're concerned, everybody they sent there was sent there to die. And it was more of a it was more of a concentration camp. Um I kind of I think the word I've been using, or the word I think of, is renditioned. They weren't deported, they were renditioned. It's when you're sent to another country to go to prison without there being any kind of jury trial. The Supreme Court prefers to deny rights when it comes to I don't know what that means. I would say that the Supreme Court has depends on whose religion it is. It seems, and especially this Supreme Court seems very happy to mandate somebody's religion. I do think somebody shouldn't be forced to do something against their religion. And there's something called freedom of speech, right? Where you can say whatever you want without fear of prosecution. But then there's also something called compelled speech. Compelled speech is being forced to say something you don't agree with. In a lot of ways, compelled speech is even worse than prosecuting free speech. So, for instance, with the wedding cake designer, I see that point, where somebody shouldn't be compelled to say something that they disagree with. And there's a precedent for that actually is the opposite side, where somebody wanted to hand out some pro-life flyers in a mall. And this was back in the 70s or whatever. And when you had to get things copied, they had to, it was like before Xerox machine, or before copiers, And so somebody would have to typeset it and do it on the Ditto machine or whatever they use, the printer. And so somebody brought in a printer, or a thing to be printed off for, like these hundreds of flyers about a pro-life thing. And the guy was pro-choice. And he said, no, I don't want to do that. I'm not pro-life. I'm really strongly against this. I don't want to do that. He got sued. He won. So that was, there's an example of that, both with somebody that was not a Christian and had the anti-Christian attitude. And there's also a case where somebody had the Christian attitude. And in both cases, I think sometimes it's helpful for people to consider both sides of a thing, to find out if they're consistent with their own belief in what's right and wrong. So, like, I think if you're saying that the wedding cake people were wrong, then you would also have to say he was wrong for denying to print the pro-life thing. And if you're going to say they're both right, if you're going to say the wedding cake person was right, then you also have to say he was right. I think that compelled speech is wrong. I don't think you can compel somebody to say something they don't want to say. By the same token, you can't sue somebody for making a wedding cake that, you don't agree with. And you can't sue somebody for making copies of something you don't agree with. There's a difference between free speech and compelled speech. So I don't know where the Supreme Court has ever denied somebody the right based on their religion. You're really into the marijuana thing. I don't know. I don't know anything about that. If this is about the cannabis thing, I don't. I just do not know. But I'm sure that you, with a name like Herbs and Animals Are Life. Okay, so so Kitty's sending me a private message. It is clear that the administration wants people to believe that only citizens have rights. I agree, and it's like if non-citizens don't have rights, citizens don't have rights. And if you don't believe me, go no further than last weekend. Because as soon as you start thinking somebody doesn't have rights, it's easy to just start dismissing the murder of an American citizen on the city sidewalk. Either we all have rights or we don't have, nobody has rights. So, Herbs in Life, I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm very proud of you for putting your truth out there. The Constitution is oftenly ignored in favor of. I don't know what Nixon's war is. I don't know what it like war on pot or something. But yeah, we should definitely just get rid of. I have no problem. We need to legalize pot, and we'd probably make money off of it. All persons arrested in the U.S. jurisdiction get due process. I should do something on. Should do a show on the legalization of marijuana. I mean, we spent so much money. I mean, wonder how much money we spent on the war on pot. Okay, so if you support ICE, you support fascist thugs. Well, I mean, that's like saying if you support circles, you support round things. I mean, is there a difference? Okay, so let's look at. So now we'll go into. So Patsy looked up some things for me. Another shooting, and the shooting was 10 miles from the border. The guy was in critical condition. Border Patrol did it. So this is the guy, or this is. Let me. Sorry. Really there. Yeah. Okay. So this is, I guess, where it happened. Somewhere around there. It looks like they are probably. The guy's not there anymore. I don't know if there's anything new about this. Hey, look, there's me. I'm not as big as the Jim Rome show, I guess. Oh well. So then it's the only image you can find. It happened 7:30 this morning. It's clear that 7:30 Eastern time, I assume, it is clear that the administration wants people to believe. Okay, so yeah. See if there's that's Hi Sports Girl, or is it Gunner? G1R. Trump is coming for your guns next. It's funny if he goes out. I wonder what's going to happen with that. I wonder if there you'll start seeing what I would really love to see what would happen if you know what I gotta wait until she gets back because I gotta see her react. I've got a joke. ICE has a job to do, unlike liberals. Yes, no liberals ever had a job, whatever that means. Like this is just like, do you realize that's a dumb comment, right? Like that's just dumb. What's even the point of that? Like, why do you just feel like the need? You just like got to scratch an itch, and you just got to say stupid things. Do you really think that liberals don't have jobs? Like that's just such a dumb thing to say. Democrats put a tax on gas. Yes. Somebody I guess said something about the liberals taxing gas, and Donald Trump is sitting there taxing every single thing with tariffs. Oh. Schrodinger's liberal. Is that what? I like that. Pat, I talk about Schrodinger's immigrants on here, and so Kitty says Schrodinger is liberal. I like that. We somehow don't have jobs, but we also somehow have all the jobs and all the control and all the authority over everything. We're the jobless elites, I guess. Whatever sense that makes. And we put a tax on gas, and all the taxes are our fault, while Donald Trump is putting tariffs on everything. That is like literally a tax on everything. Do you know 60 Minutes banned a segment from airing in America? You mean cut? You mean they didn't air a something? They cut something, and they like, what do you mean banned a segment from air? Do you think that they every time they interview somebody, they show every single interview in its entirety? Do you think that none of the Donald Trump interviews have ever been edited? Like, I mean, come on. This is what I mean. It's like sometimes MAGAs, it's like you don't really think about what you're saying. It's like Donald Trump, or what's her name, the Caroline Levitt to Beaver, like they say something stupid, and then you just like parrot it without even thinking about it. What does that mean? They banned us. What? How does 60 Minutes ban something? Like, did they pass a law, or did they just simply not air? They edited a video and cut out parts of it, like they do with every single video ever, every single interview, every interview from every show. You don't think Fox News edits interviews? Oh my goodness, what a weird, stupid thing to say. Oh, 60 Minutes did it because it was bad for Trump and ICE, but it aired in Canada. Well, I mean, that's not really banning. But I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. I thought you were talking about the Kamala Harris interview. Sorry. Oh, they voted for a reality. They didn't even vote for a good reality TV star. I don't know. Not that there would be a reality TV star that I think would be good, but you'd think that they could do better than that. The first time I watched one episode of The Apprentice, and then I just could not, I was just like, this is just too dumb to watch. I watched, and he was like sitting there, he started off talking about how wonderful he was and how wonderful all his advice was and how he gave the best advice. And if everybody listened to his advice, they would be rich. And then they went out and they did some sort of games. I can't remember what they were selling, hot dogs or something. And then the guy that won just did nothing whatsoever with his advice, like just completely ignored his advice, and then came in the room, and then Donald Trump sat there and he talked about how he did so great because he did exactly what he told him to, even though it was like it wasn't even he did the opposite. It just made no difference on what he did at all. And then Donald Trump sat there and took all the credit for it. And I just thought, yeah, this is who I thought he was. And I didn't have I didn't watch the show after that. I never could understand why people like that show. I definitely don't understand how people like that person. I didn't even know he was like, I didn't know about his reputation in New York. Nobody in New York likes him. I mean, long before. And I was watching Veronica Mars. Has anybody ever watched that show, Veronica Mars? And so it's on Netflix now. The first 3 seasons are on Netflix. And I really, really liked that show when it came out. This was like in the mid 2000s. And it's not just because Kristen Bell is secretly in love with me. But it's just a great show. It's just really, really well written. And there's a couple of episodes, one where there was like a bunch of like she's reading in the National Enquirer, and there's like some tribe in Africa that worships his hair, is like the joke. And then there's another episode where there's like a few episodes where they take rips at Donald Trump, but this is like in the 2000, like even before The Apprentice came out, like even before long before he was and so everybody's always like, like the Trump supporters are always like, oh, everybody loved him until, no, we didn't. No, he didn't. You might have, but I didn't. I never liked him. And then I watched one episode of The Apprentice, and I was like, yeah. Anyone on America soil has the right to due process. Oh, wait, we've got. I am in love with Kristen Bell. She's in love with me, too. She just doesn't know it. But I'll tell you this. Yeah, have you ever heard her deny it? Like, I mean, she's never said she's not. I'm not saying she is. I'm just saying she's never said she's not. They did not air it here, but they did in Canada. Okay. I don't know what all that's about. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be mean. I have no idea what that's about. That's a independent CBS 60 Minutes thing that, there could be all kinds of reasoning for that. It could just come down to what, they don't have the same amount of time for commercials as Canada and the US. So it could just be they needed to fill up another 2 minutes. Like, I have no idea why that was. Darren Adolf Trump needs his diaper changed. That's like an evergreen tweet right there. I was joking on Twitter. Remember when his plane had to turn around last week? He was like on his way somewhere and they had to turn around and they blamed it on the lights. I was joking on Twitter. It's good that the guy that was supposed to bring the diapers forgot to pack the diapers. Which it probably wasn't a joke. I sucks. I block all MAGA Nazis. Over 400 Venezuelans were arrested by ICE, reported by Trump. Yeah, well, now their country is all nice and safe again, allegedly. This is another thing. Like when they talk about, oh, well, if they just came here legally. And so the people that came over here on TPS, temporary protected status, came here legally. Then he ended their legal status. Then it's like, oh, they're illegals and we're deporting them. Well, they should have thought about that before they came here illegally. This is one reason I say, like when people say, well, they committed one crime when they came over here and they crossed the border illegally. Not everybody that's here illegally crossed the border illegally. A lot of people that 1.5 million TPSs he canceled. So that's like 1.5 million people that are immigrants that came over here legally that all of a sudden weren't legal anymore. So whose fault is that? What did they do wrong? Nothing. They were beaten and molested, and out of 400 plus who were sent, there are only 8 of them. Wow, I had a crime on the record. That is not surprising. Only a talk, and this is like one of the things that annoys me the most about the whole thing is that the people who are actually felons, the ones who actually, and Tim Walz was talking about this morning, the ones that are actually felons, the ones that we actually want off the streets, the ones that were forced to be let out of prison because they had served their time. Those are the ones that they aren't going after. It's not just that they're grabbing up the ones that are just guilty of, crossing the border and starting a store here or having children here and dropping them off at school. If it were like that is part of the problem, but it's also they're not actually going after the actual baddies. The ones that are protecting the pedophiles and the murderers are the ones that are supporting the current actions of ICE, because the current actions of ICE are they're not doing what they should be doing. Oh, this was back then. So this wasn't with a recent thing. And I don't watch 60 Minutes. I tend to not. I actually don't watch a lot of news TV. I get most of my news through reading. Why us? Everyone on U.S. soil has the right to due process, according to the USA Constitution. I wish MAGA would go look up facts instead of spewing out BS they know nothing about. I agree. I wish everybody would have fact-based conversations. Instead of just screaming things like TDS. What do you think that contributes to the conversation? So anyway, I'll look at this, Blue Crab. I think that's interesting. I'll look it up. I'm not sure there's some sort of conservative. Well, when was this during the election that this happened? Or was this more recently? Because CBS under Barry Weiss has not been very good. That's did you catch that? There was a during the Golden Globe, somebody said that now CBS is the news network for people that want to see BS. Which I thought that was like as Machine Pun Kelly, I had to respect the game there. Kim Walz is a joke. I don't know who Kim Walz is. Everyone on U.S. has the right to due process according to the USA Constitution. I wish MAGA would go look up fact. Oh, wait, we've already read that one. All kinds of things, dude. Did you know that there's places that you can read things on the internet? I know. I mean, I guess maybe you don't read. Maybe that's the problem. But I read probably at least 100 newspaper articles a day from various sources. There's a video on YTube about the hundreds of Venezuelans wrongly sent to El Salvador. They interviewed the men. It was terrifying. MAGA's brains do not function normally. You could have just ended that sentence one word early. Their brains are smooth and hard. Facts can't be absorbed. There are some MAGAs that I know that are otherwise intelligent people. Like I have a friend who, has a master's degree in economics from University of Chicago. and has made a lot of money. He's a really smart man everywhere else. Bring up Donald Trump, and he might be, he's just as dumb as any other MAGA. They just turn off their brain. They have a functioning brain. Otherwise, they can sit there and, fix cars and do all kinds of other things. But as soon as it comes to politics, it's just like they become dumber than a box of rocks. Post a link. Yeah, can you get the story? So you said it's available on YouTube. If you, I don't know if you can post links. If it lets you, MAGA's eyes don't function properly easy either. And it's like so crazy. Like this one guy that was on here earlier that was talking about, he had seen the video of Randy Pretty getting murdered from all kinds of different angles, and it was undeniable that he was trying to kill them or whatever. And it's just like, dude, you did not watch the same thing that the rest of the universe watched. They were, some were forced to. The Trump administration sometimes works against the quarter. I think it's the Washington Post did like a study on it, and they had ignored like 35% of court orders, but eventually they've been capitulating. But I mean, it's like they have to drag their feet and kick and cry first. I feel sad because my in-laws were some of the smartest people I ever knew, and now they are literally so very brainwashed. My brother-in-law, he's not super bright, but he's not dumb. But boy, when it comes to politics, he just, so dumb. Same with my ex-husband, hurts my boys. So your in-laws are his parents? Because anyway, no, I'm thinking of somebody else. Sounds like you're the problem. Well, you don't seem to really have many thinking skills yourself. Yet you never said a word about brain dead Biden. The hypocrisy is scary. Well, Biden wasn't brain dead. It's still not. I mean, but if you anyway, this is the kind of stupid comment I'm talking about. Like, Canada leaked it, and yes, you can find it on YouTube by looking up Venezuelan 60 Minutes. The one young guy that interviewed had never committed a crime, was here going to the legal process. Oh. All right. Jobs. So apparently I missed something. Anyway, sorry, guy. Sometimes I like scroll through the comments and I accidentally click on one and I totally lose my place. Barry Weiss was the one who decided. Oh, yeah, that explains it. Barry Weiss is just she's the designated Trump appointment in that slot. She's completely unqualified for it. She's never even been a journalist. Yeah, sorry, Blue Crab. I thought you were talking initially about, because we had talked about the oh wow. We had talked earlier about the whole CBS Kamala Harris interview. I thought you were talking about that. Okay. I will donate to okay. These are the starred comments that were being flagged for me that I never got to. Okay, I will donate to an edible fund. So this is going back, a while ago, for almost an hour ago. I will donate to an edible fund when I was talking about how we need to get some of these people in the Trump administration getting stoned. Ted Cruz needs to stop protecting pedophiles. Trump needs a 2,500 milligram gummy. Baked Biscuit is an illiterate MAGA for Baked Biscuit needs to get baked quick. These examples are anecdotal. I don't know what what examples you were talking about. But yes, there were both examples and the larger picture. Resistance Kitty is a mod, actually. She's doing a fantastic job. All persons arrested in the U.S. jurisdiction get due process. They voted for a reality TV star. Of course, they're dumb. Okay. And there's a video on YT about. Okay. So this is where we're caught up on that. So Troll Trucker says, like, this is the one where I got. It breaks my heart more as a Christian when the disciples asked, "Who's my neighbor?" Christ answered them by telling them the Good Samaritan parable. So the people you hate are also your neighbor. Ignorance unequaled on display, spine and brain void. That's right. Now you're getting it. Okay. Thank you for your assistance there, William. You not reckon, I mean, William there not recommending the channel probably means I don't get as many MAGA trolls coming in here, which is not going to break my heart. She probably didn't want MAGA to see it because it's hard to watch. It reflects badly on Trump and ICE. Yeah, if this, yeah, definitely with her, I can see it. She is like just the whole thing. I'm actually worried about the whole HBO merger because John Oliver did a segment on Barry Weiss where he just, I mean, it wasn't pretty. he tore her up. And now if this merger goes through with Paramount and HBO and Barry Weiss becomes his boss, we might lose like one of the best voices there is right now. I don't know who else is a fan of Last Week Tonight, but I would not have gotten through the Trump years without that show. I would have gone insane. And we need more things like that, more things that are actually trying to understand issues rather than just present the top 10 hits of sound bites for the day. 60 Minutes did finally air it a couple of weeks ago. It's also sickening. I'll never understand how one person can be so cruel to another. And this is like, I was thinking about this, like just in general, I was thinking about this a lot, is when people say things like, oh, now they're doing it to citizens, as though murdering a citizen is what makes it bad, not murdering a person. Look, murdering Americans is bad, but the only difference between the two people that ICE murdered in America and the U.S. military murdered on the high seas is the details. It's still murder. It's still extrajudicial killings. It's still just murdering people. And it's not worse because it's an American citizen. It's not that that's saying it's less bad because it's an American citizen. No, it's saying that it's not less bad because they're not American citizens. The people that were murdered on the Caribbean, whether they were selling drugs or whether they were smuggling drugs or not, is irrelevant. They weren't an imminent threat. They weren't going to kill anybody. They did not deserve to be murdered extrajudicially. It's harder to talk for 4 hours than you might think. Trump won't be around for even a few more months. Hopefully he gets impeached and removed. You ever find yourself just kind of cheering for the catch up to finish the job? I don't know. I'm not sure how much more fond I would be of President Vance, other than I don't think that Vance is going to get the same kind of sycophantic kowtowing that Trump does. Like, I don't think JD Vance has the ability to tell you that, you know, whatever nonsense that Donald Trump says and get you to believe it. I am blue because I vote. Can't tell you what Kitty just said. Apparently she has skills. You do know that Vance is gay, right? Claims to have undergone conversion therapy. Do couches count as gay? Like the couch? There once was a man named Vance who unzipped and dropped his pants. He looked at the couch and the sofa said, ouch, as Vance started to do his dance. That's a little limerick I wrote for you. And that is my ranch on Couch Popper. Only if it has a couch. I think it's got like I wonder if he goes for the cushion crack. If that's where oh MAGAs are well trained in whataboutism. It's there's like the standard MAGA comebacks come down to what about is one thing, right? That's what, and it doesn't even have to be relevant or anything, and or logical or even remotely intelligent. Like my favorite one lately is you even had somebody at the press conference ask Levitt to Beaver about why didn't the liberal media get as upset about Ashley Babbitt as they are about Randy Preddy? And it's like, yeah, well, you think maybe it's because one was trying to help a woman stand up on the ice and the other one was trying to murder the vice president of the United States? Like, maybe just a little bit of difference there. Anyway, they love their whataboutisms. They also love the I'm made of rubber, you're made of glue, bounces off me and sticks to you. Like that one is so many things come back down to that. Just the kind of you know, And you never like. I wish they would come up with some better insults. The other one is "you're a moron" without the apostrophe. I just saw Kitty's comment. We're taking all our stuff back. Alex Pretty. Renee Good. Renee. How Democrats scammed us. This is just like such a weird thing to say. Like, this is the other thing they do is they just say stupid things that, like, the Democrats scammed the system. Like, that's just, what does that even mean? It's just so hollow and void of any sense of reality or fact or whatever. And it's like, to you, I'm sure that you and your wife there, like the two of you, while you're making hot, passionate love, like you think about how the Democrats scammed the system, and it doesn't matter that it's completely something that either you made up or somebody else made up and you believe without thinking about it. FDT, thank you for your content. Abolish ISIN. What is FDT? Anyway, thank you for watching. My content would feel pretty hollow if nobody watched. Very childish. They are. Have you seen the giraffe signing on YouTube? I don't know who the giraffe is. Did he agree to a new contract? He really stuck his neck out for that one, didn't he? Giraffe, because you know. I would say that both parties have a lot of work to do, but I think the Democratic Party is maybe more salvageable. There are people in the Democratic Party who I feel like are good. But it's definitely not beyond criticism. But both parties are not the same. Every time I hear Trump's breathing, I gain a little more hope for the future. Who would have guessed the sounds of withered lungs would make me so optimistic? For legal reasons, this is a joke. Let's go, gurgle. Here we go. Here we go, gurgle. Okay. Maybe it'll be, well, I'm sure we'll be much happier when we don't hear that anymore, if you know what I mean. All right. 7 people died. We haven't seen Rainbow Kitty today. I hope Rainbow Kitty's. Oh, that is Rainbow Kitty. All right, good. I was just thinking. I was like, man, 7 people died from freezing to death in New York. 4 from ice. Wow. Which chill do you think is worse? Let's evolve. Apex Earth. I don't know. Hi there, Rogue Probe. What does your sign say? I can't see it. Man, this guy has got. You remind me of a friend I went to high school with. He's like an expert on pot. ICE is trying to clean up the mess. No, he's not. If your words end up on my MAGA troll bingo card, you also get banned. Yeah, we've got a MAGA troll bingo card that just the same stupid things that they say all the time. That was actually pretty good. I wonder what I said that apparently I got some laughs out of it. I don't know which one. Do you hear one about Humpty Dumpty having a bad winter? It's a shame. I heard he had a great fall. Oh, I've got some. You had to crack that joke, huh? Crack that joke. If Trump were scamming the Constitution, wouldn't some wild-eyed Denmark? There has been like literally hundreds of lawsuits filed. All on constitutional ground. You're asking, like, if the earth is round, why doesn't it rotate? Like, there's literally been hundreds and hundreds of lawsuits filed on constitutional grounds along different lines, like based on violating numerous amendments, the First Amendment, and then on constitutional powers, separation of powers. Dude, you're just asking, like, why doesn't, if Tom Brady's such a great quarterback, how come he's never completed a pass or something? Hey, Kelly, I forgot to say hi on the way in, LMAO. That's all right. I'm probably, this is actually a nice pace right now, the comments. I'm able to more or less keep up without getting too far behind, but there's enough to keep busy. I want us to start making a little plan. Okay. What happened to okay, here we go. It's not a joke, you're deranged. Okay. Thank you for doing this and reading and commenting on your comments. My comments. I am here for the pot advice. I wish Texas would legalize it. Holy medicine have medicinal alkaloids, terpenes, and flavonoids, and polyphenol, and DNA and microbes and more, and yet be discovered with them that are more. There's a lot of medicinal value to marijuana. I tried taking like the Delta 8 gummies and stuff like that, but they make me vomit. Which is too bad because it helps with my long COVID, but it makes me physically sick. Only 2% of Minnesota are immigrants, but I'm in Texas, which is red, has a 6%. Why doesn't the fascists send ICE there? I've wondered the same thing. Because I live in Texas too. Trump said on January 6th, Democrats will take away your guns. He was shot at. If Trump bans guns, will the MAGA party give thumbs up freely? That would be interesting. That's where I think it's funny. Oh, I was going to mention this joke earlier. Is like, I wonder if ICE, like all these people that have been saying that the government's coming for your gun, is ICE going to shoot themselves? Because it's like the same people. So if ICE comes for their guns, they come for their own guns. All right, maybe that one didn't go over too well. Either that or Patsy's not listening. What happened to freedom of religion in the Constitution and the Geneva Convention and the Native Right Act? Oh, Trump got elected. And as soon as Trump got elected, none of that stuff mattered anymore. I use cannabis for my lupus. Oh, ye who lives in a legal state. 5 gram side effects are the same as COVID. THC has been proven to be induced apoptosis, cancer cell death. I don't know what that means. I don't even know what this word means. Apoptosis? I don't know. Are you saying that THC kills cancer cells? Is that what you're saying? Donald Trump is a Trumpist. All Donald Trump thinks about or cares about is Donald Trump. I'm not in Texas. That was a typo. I should have said it. I'm really confused now. You're in Indiana or Texas or? Yes. More of us than you think there are. We're just not allowed to vote. No, I mean, not entirely, but. Trump plans on ushering the one world religion where everybody prays to Trump. Everyone is voting now. 5G cell phone signal. Oh, yeah, that's not even 5G. It's not what people think it is. "5G isn't anything to do with signal strength. It's just that it has to do with the number of devices and whatnot and range. It should have been read in the state of Texas. What should have been read? I'm sorry, I'm confused, Blue Crab. Dreamfish and the Colorado River toad and the cane toad seal water systems and help human health and drop crop yields. Wow. Dreamfish and the Colorado River toad sounds like the name of a children's book. I was thinking five. What do I think 5G means, or it's just fifth generation? It's not like each generation of is like a different range of or more powerful signal range or whatever. 5G has more to do with how many devices can be connected than anything. It's abundance more than signal strength. Yeah, it's like it's how many devices can be connected to a repeater at the same time and how many it can process and stuff. So like one example of how 5G can be really helpful is what they're doing in China, where they have the cars that are all 5G and they connect with the traffic system that are connected with the traffic lights so that it can detect how the traffic is flowing, and then it can adjust the signals to go with the flow of traffic, and it like reduces traffic congestion like 20%. There's a lot of really cool things about 5G, but it doesn't give you an intensified signal or anything. And the idea that it causes cancer or whatever is kind of debunked junk science. They killed cancer in cells. THCO killed cancer in cell studies. 100,000 human. That's interesting. Oh, I did a school paper on why artifice is unjust in politics for one of my classes. It was great. I offered so many Republicans with what is artifice? I don't even know what that word means. Y'all are sitting there teaching me new words today. Artifice refers to a clever, cunning trick or a skillful, honest, often dishonest contrivance used to deceive or achieve a goal. It implies craftiness, deceit, or insincere behavior, but can also denote skillful ingenuity. Synonyms include subterfuge, trickery, wile, guile, deceit, cunning, and maneuver. Well, I like learning new words. That's a cool word. when I was in college, I took a course in propositional logic where you have to take these formulas. You basically draw out mathematical formulas for logical arguments and either prove or disprove the argument just based on its logic, not whether you agree with it or not. So you like break it down into like character letters so that you divorce yourself from any feeling about the argument. And it's really actually interesting. I wish it was like a required high school course because you're breaking down the actual reasoning of it. And when I was in college, it was like the early 90s, and Rush Limbaugh was just getting popular. And one of our assignments was to take like a pundit or somebody that whose logic we admired, and to do a logical breakdown, or to like either prove or disprove an argument they made. And so we had this assignment, and then we had to come back and then like say what the argument was, show how we mathematically broke it down, and then prove whether it was right or not. I did a Clinton argument, which was actually very, very sound. But I'll also say a lot of Rush Limbaugh fans were lost that day. Like they started looking at the actual logic of Rush Limbaugh, and they're like, "Oh, this guy sucks." So it was kind of a cool little exercise. But Bill Clinton is, I mean, like, I'm not trying to defend everything he did, obviously, but he's actually a pretty smart guy. Something that gets lost. And he was so good at explaining things, like, and here's why. You always knew he was about to like really explain something helpful when he go, and here's why. Okay. Did you see the sonic weapon used last night in Minnesota? Did they use a sonic weapon? They're starting to use stuff like military grade stuff against citizens. Some stuff that's not even authorized for military grade. Also military. Thank you. Yes, that's what I want to read that. Oh, his paper? Yeah, that does sound interesting. Arbitrary cannabis grow limits in arbitrary THC. This show is really going to pot. Who let Gramps on the internet? Send you $2,000. What $2,000? My comment had a typo. It should have said in Texas. Oh, I see. Not I am in Texas. Hope that clears it up. I got you. Yeah. Unfortunately, I am in Texas. 6G is about making the body an antenna. Do you have to get false teeth for that or something? Unfortunately, your Canadian leader also BlackRock, Larry Fink, Trump's friend. I have to see if I can post it on my channel. Either that or post it in small chunks here in the chat. You could put it in a Word doc and then post the link to the Word doc, like share the Word doc and then post the Word doc in the chat. If you took the vaccine, your body is on the IoT Internet of Things. I was so disappointed because I thought I was going to get free internet when I got the vaccine, and it never happened. Artifice is making up falsehoods to deceive or persuade. Kind of like the entire GOP. Massachusetts have the most educated in the nation. Gulf of. You know what city has the most books per capita? Madison, Wisconsin. Masculine is a non-psychoactive and medicinal certo. I can't even read your comments, dude. But you clearly know about marijuana. I'll tell you that more than I do. I am now more intrigued. Okay. I know it's CNN. So I don't. Are you talking about the CNN effect? You know, sometimes the things you just whip up really fast are better than the things you spend a lot of time on. Talk nerdy to me, baby. Cases Act double printed our money. Artifice is one Trump does every time he opens his mouth. He is quite the windbag. Well, Brian did not last long, did he? Okay, so nice chatting with you. Have a good one, Blue Crab. I think we're winding down here. I will. I think I'm gonna end it here. We've kind of caught up on the comments, and I don't have anything else to go. Kitty, if you want to hang out for just a minute or two, we can chat real quick after I end, and then. But yeah, that's it. Everybody else, thanks a lot, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye.